Arteries, can you see anything?
Yeah.
You can like sit up here if you want.
That's fine.
Alright. So on top of your heart, remember on the model here you have the one that went around the heart? What was that called?
Aortic.
The aortic arch. So, and that's the aorta. So on the heart you have an aorta. It goes around the heart. If I were to pull this part of the lung back, this is the aorta. Do you see how it kind of curves? Maybe. So where it actually curves, that's the aortic arch. This whole thing is the aorta. So then, once you go from the aorta, you have this one and this one coming off of it. So the one on the left that comes off is the left subclavian artery. So the first branch going to the left, and what I mean left is I would literally place yourself as a cat and do left and right. So the first branch on the left is the left subclavian, and then you have this branch on the right. This big old branch on the right is the brachiocephalic artery. So these are all arteries. So here's your aorta, aortic arch, left subclavian, and brachiocephalic. Then what do you think the brachiocephalic does? It branches. These are all going to branch. Once it branches, you're going to ignore all this, branches right here. Do you guys see that? Where branches open? So when it branches to the left side, you have the left common carotid right here. This is the left common carotid. It's the first left branch off of the brachiocephalic. And then the brachiocephalic branches again. It's on the right side this time. It's the right common carotid. Then it branches again to go under the clavicle, right here. That's the right subclavian. So, in review, we have the aorta, curves around the heart. Where it curves, it's the aortic arch. Comes up, you have this first left branch. First left branch is which one? Left what? Subclavian. It goes under the clavicle, under subclavicle, clavian. So left subclavian artery. And then it's this big old one on the right, which is the what? Brachiocephalic artery. The brachiocephalic branches to the left, and you have this one, which is the left common carotid. And then it branches to the right side of the trachea, and it's the right common carotid. Then it branches again over here, underneath the clavicle, it's the right subclavian. So if I pin these guys, I'm not going to pin it where it's very difficult. If I'm looking for left common carotid, I'm going to do it up here. Right common carotid, if I'm looking for right subclavian, I'll do it right here. Left subclavian over here. If I'm looking for brachiocephalic, it'll be right in the middle. Aortic arch, I'll ask you for the structure of the artery. So that'll be aortic arch. If I'm asking you for the artery, put aorta. Do all those make sense to everyone so far?
Structure equals arch.
Structure equals aortic arch. So then you have the coronary artery. If I pin the heart and I'm asking what artery, that's the coronary artery. It's right here in the heart. It goes down here. So that's the coronary artery. And then you have the, let's see. Okay, thoracic aorta. So the aorta goes right here and it goes all the way down. Where is your thoracic cavity? Is it above or below your diaphragm? Above. So if you see this diaphragm right here, and you go above it, and you move these lungs aside, some of you guys are going to have to flip over, you have that. So, some of you move around if you need to see it. Here's your thoracic artery. On this side.
Is that why you had that line drawn on your picture? That's the diaphragm?
Yes, that's the diaphragm. It's right here. That's your thoracic artery. Aorta. Does that make sense? So if I'm looking for just the aorta, I'm going to pin it up here. If I'm looking for the structure of the artery, that's the aortic arch. If I'm looking for the thoracic aorta, I will actually somehow pin this back and pin it down here. Kind of like where this pin is, I would pin it down here. Except for I'd watch out for the bones. That worked for everybody. And then on that same kind of thing, once you get below The diaphragm right here, what's the cavity down here?
Abdominal.
Abdominal cavity. And so do you think the aorta continues down? Yeah. So what do you think it's called once you get below the diaphragm? Abdominal aorta. So if you move all this aside, you get right in the middle here. There's your aorta. That big one right in the middle. Does everybody see that?
And it goes all the way down to the legs.
It goes all the way down, yep. So that's your abdominal aorta. Okay, and then you also have your celiac and your mesenteric, and I think for now we might skip those and see how we get time to find out. Okay, for now we're going to skip those. Celiac and superior mesenteric, no big deal. Then we have, okay, your renal. Does anyone know what renal means? Kidney. So when you think about the kidneys, think about the word renal. So if I pin one, these big old things are kidneys. You have one here. You have one right here. Looks like this is the one that we dissected on this cat. So if I pin this that's going right to it, that's the renal artery. And on this cat, it's the left renal artery. Does everyone see that? So for the renal arteries and veins, I went left and right. Those are easy to see. You can do that. Just like your common carotids and your subclavian, I need right and left. So please put right and left. When in doubt, it's never going to hurt you to put right and left. So this is the right or the left renal artery. Right next to it would be the the left renal vein. Like I said, if I ask this to you, I will ask, what is the artery or what is the vein? So please read those questions. If I ask you the artery and you put the vein, you'll probably get half credit if you put renal. But besides that, you won't get full credit. Okay, and then when you follow this down, right here you see this split. It splits off. When it splits, that's the iliac. That's the external iliac. So the iliac will go, if you follow it in, it'll actually go into the leg about right here, where I can lift it up on either side, and then it goes into the leg deep that way. Where it goes deep into the leg, it's the internal iliac. So on this cat, it's right there. Unless I can really see that, I won't ask it to y'all. But if I can pull it, like I can actually pull this out and you can see where it goes deep into it, then that's fair game. Does that make sense to everyone?
And what is that again?
That's the internal iliac where it goes in. The one on the outside, if I pin right here, that's the external iliac. And then once you reach the femur, that's the femoral artery. So if I pin the femoral artery, I won't pin it up here. I'm not going to make y'all, feel around for the femur and guess where it's at. If I pin the femoral, it'll be somewhere down here. Okay?
So where does the external and the internal separate?
So on this one, that's what I'm saying. I'm having trouble finding it on this one. I will look at another cat and try to show you. In terms of pulling this up, it looks like it's down here, but it's not separated yet. And so you'll see it go straight into the leg. So those are your arteries. Any questions over the arteries? No?
You mentioned the inner, what was this again, when it goes into the...
Iliac, the internal iliac? Is it on there?
The only thing I saw was the internal iliac vein.
Okay, so you just have to know the internal iliac vein. You don't even have to know the internal iliac artery. So I apologize. You only have to know the external iliac artery. Does that make sense to everyone?
So just the artery?
Yeah,
Okay,
just the artery. So this is the external iliac artery right here. So if you find this split right there, that would be the external iliac. And then down here would be the femoral. It's over the femur. So that's the femoral artery. So next, if someone would semi-clean, switch my papers out. Okay. So now you have your veins. And your veins, same thing.